Welcome to the Big Dawg Crypto Podcast. This is your number one crypto podcast to hear directly from the movers and shakers, innovators, and disruptors in the cryptocurrency industry. Follow on Twitter for updates and to communicate directly at Woof Big Dawg. That's at Woof Big DAWG. Now, here is your host, the one and only Big Dawg Crypto.
And welcome to the latest episode of the Big Dawg Crypto Podcast. I'm your host, Big Dawg Crypto. And let me tell you, I've been trying to get this guy on the podcast for a long time, but he is busy. He goes nonstop. However, I kept asking, and finally I got him on the podcast. Bullrun Gravano, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been a lot of tag going back and forth between you and I. We've known each other for quite a while, but I appreciate you having me on.
And I got to give you that intro because let's be honest, man, I've been trying to get you, man, but you go nonstop, brother. How many hours a week are you putting into crypto?
It varies. I do have, I have my 14-hour days, 16-hour days here and there, but thank God. No, I don't want to say thank God for the bear market, but I guess it came at the right time. It's summertime here in the U.S. and been able to slow down a little bit and take a little time with the family, go on a couple of vacations and rest my brain a little bit. But yeah, when things ramp up and it gets crazy, that's around the clock. My brain is going, and I'm trying to broker deals and work with different projects and find something new and do my research. But it's been a busy lifestyle. I left my full-time career in IT a couple of years ago, and I've been immersed in this, and I work twice as much doing this than I ever did at my full-time job in the past.
So that kind of brings up, how did you get into crypto originally? Do you remember what you were doing the first time you even heard of Bitcoin?
Yeah. So I had an intro to Bitcoin. I had heard people talk about it and, talk about, this guy's mining Bitcoin, running a rig. And, I started asking questions, what is this about? And, they started talking about it, just a new form of wealth, transfer wealth and how to invest in it. And for a while, it was just tinkering around with kind of learning what it was and, some of the advantages from traditional finance. But my first investment wasn't even in Bitcoin. It was Ethereum. My brother came to me back in 2017, early 2018, when Ethereum hit its all-time high. And for me, it was really just being thrown to the wolves. I didn't have a lot of time to learn about the ecosystem, about Bitcoin or Ethereum. It was kind of on the fly, At that time, people were just starting to get excited about it. And here I was going into troll boxes on exchanges,
right.
some of those old school ones, and really just following random shills and doing like probably what a lot of people are doing right now who are new to the space, just chasing green candles and holding on to my coins and watching it go up and then holding it all the way down to nearly nothing, So I had my share of mistakes, but going back, it was, it's been, about 5 years now, and it was just word of mouth. My brother got in. He since moved back to, doing whatever he was doing prior to that. He kind of got out of crypto, but I was hooked. I worked in IT for 20 years and was actually working at Morgan Stanley for a few years in New York City, and got kind of a taste of traditional finance and being around traders and the bullpen. And, that was an exciting time. Maybe 2005, 2006, during that whole, too big to die moment for the big banking industry. And it was exciting. I loved watching what they were doing when it came to trading and making deals. And so again, I've been around finance for quite a while, but it wasn't my forte at the time. It was something that I really transitioned to when I came into crypto.
So basically, you come from a traditional financial background, and now this has pretty much become what you do full time.
Yeah, traditional finance, and again, I was in information technology, so I was managing a bunch of engineers who went down and worked on the market data apps for traders and everything down to the boot and turret phones when they go on to make their trades. But I was in the thick of it, the bullpen. So for me, it was a matter of, wow, this is exciting. I really like this. I was probably in my late 20s at that time, and it was the adrenaline rush back then. So naturally, when I came into this, it was that shot of that injection of adrenaline when I came in, making trades and doing things. Everything was fast paced and trying to jump in and out. But over time, as I've learned and started to network with different project leaders and leaders in the space, it really opened my eyes to so much more than just the excitement of making trades. And really what some of the applications and utilities in this space, what they can do for just to better the lives of everybody involved. And it's a global thing. So it was really something that I got immersed in, and from that day I was hooked and never looked back.
So that kind of brings me though to the question of, you got into it, you immersed yourself into it. I remember watching your Twitter for a long time, and as you've grown and just all the content you put out, how did you, and I say this now because, look, you talk to new people coming to the space all the time, and they're kind of wondering, how do I learn about stuff? And to some extent, I feel like, let's say 5 years ago, there were certain ways to learn, there's ways to learn now, but at the end of the day, information is information. That being said, for a new person in the space now, how do you advise them to at least learn about the space, do their due diligence, and kind of, understand the crypto space? What would you tell them?
Yeah, back in the day, it was somewhat limited, right? And I was often blindly following advice of people who had a large following on Twitter.
Right.
And it really wasn't, I don't know if it was the smartest way, but again, my resources were limited back then. Now, I think there's a lot more opportunity for people who come in and learn the right way. In my opinion, jumping in and making trades and buying things on exchanges that look hot, I don't know if that's the way to go in the beginning. I think it takes a little bit of patience. So, if I was to do it all again, I probably would have went that route, knowing what I know now, I guess hindsight. But there's social media is great, in some respects. It can be a danger at times too, especially when you're playing with your money, right? But there's Twitter obviously is and always has been my main source of information. It's not just going on what people are saying on Twitter, but everything from reading the news to Cointelegraph to following prominent leaders in the space. I'm always looking at what CZ is doing and what he's involved with. SBF, he's always he's always involved in doing something. So and then there's other influencers in the space that you'll find are worth following because they put out educational content. YouTube is the same way. If you find the right people and you really get an understanding that these people aren't necessarily, they're not trying to sell you something, they're trying to educate you. Right. I lean towards those. I look I look at YouTube, I look at Twitter. I go on some of those apps on my phone for like Coin Telegraph and crypto news, and really try to learn the space. And then listen, if you're just coming in, go to learn about as much as you can about blockchain itself, not just about coins, right? Understand what blockchain can do, and and understand it's not just. I think a few years back, everybody looked at it as just like a payment service, right? Transferring currencies, but now it's everything from supply chains to security to tools to build new apps to decentralized finance and how to invest and save over time. This isn't necessarily you'll get the shills that say this is a get rich quick type of thing, right? You got to look past that. You got to look at the big picture and use this more as an investment tool over time and build wealth over time. I know everybody gets turned on to the idea of driving Lamborghinis and having a big house, watches, jewelry, things like that. But that's very easy, especially if you're somebody who's single in their 20s, and that's an attractive selling point. Right? But I'm a guy in my 40s, and I'm thinking more along the lines, and I hope younger people are too, about their savings and their retirement and securing a nest egg for the future. And this is a space where you can learn and you can find tools to help you save money over time. And for some of us, for many people out there, it was an opportunity that we wouldn't have had in traditional finance. People put in a savings account and they're making less than 1% interest a year on their savings account, and they don't know where else to go. There are platforms out there where you can really learn how to save quite a bit of money over time. And for a guy like me, it got me. I was blessed that it got me out of a career over 20 years, where it got to the point where it was more a job and a paycheck, and I wasn't really enjoying the quality of life that I had. To now I work from my little home office and I meet people, and I'm not slaving over a paycheck and making my boss wealthier. It's about my wealth and my family, and really taking control back, and that's what I appreciate about it.
It's a totally different vibe. I mean, you're absolutely right about that, and that's the thing. So people that are, let's say, that have just gotten into the markets, and I mean, as people that are investing or buying and whatnot, and those that have only been in, let's say, since last fall, right? And so they saw everything going up, everything goes up, and then suddenly things down in January. You got a lot of people in the markets now that are kind of like, well, wait a second, this, I thought it was good, but everything's down. I bought Bitcoin at 60 something and it's sitting there. It's down to, 20 something. What do you tell people like that? What advice do you give? What are your thoughts on that?
I tell them that guys like you and I have, it's not our first rodeo. We've seen it before. The market runs in cycles. So, yeah, you're probably frustrated right now. At some of them at the point of capitulation, not too sure about the future of the market and where Bitcoin may go. But we've seen Bitcoin do this and retrace 80, 90% before, right? It's still a highly volatile asset.
Yeah.
So what I would say is kind of trust the process. The market does run in cycles, and this was still somewhat predictable that we were going to retrace and we were going to have a bear market. But after a bear market, a bull market always follows. It's just a matter of time, how patient you can be, and take this time during this market, during the bear market, to learn, right? You don't need to be actively trading all the time. So display some patience, learn a little more so you don't make some of the same mistakes you made when you just came in. Because again, it's exciting. Everything is pumping. Everything is new. You have these visions of making millions of dollars, and then it comes crashing down on you. Right? Some people, it's just too much for them to get out, and they say, "Ah, shit, this isn't for me. This, I'm never going to make money doing this." But again, you may be down, right? But I would say, I'm not one to give advice on how you should manage your money, right, or what you should spend your money on. But if it was me and I was new, I'd start putting a little bit away in each paycheck, and having a little bit of a little bit of capital off to the side. So when the markets do slowly start to turn, I'm a little bit better educated, and I can start putting money in things like micro caps and small caps, where, unlike Bitcoin to me is more like my savings account, not my checking account, right? That's going to be something that accrue over time. I'm going to stack some Bitcoin. I'm going to stack some ETH. But while the market's down, you can find small projects with good fundamentals, building something real that can do absolutely, from this point of the market, can do that 20, 50, 100x. And then, you peel off some of that and you roll it into your savings account again, your Bitcoin, your ETH. So again, to me, it's really like, don't give up. You may be frustrated, but again, go back to the basics. Use this time to read a book, go on YouTube, find social media channels, get in Telegram groups, start learning. Use your time wisely, and put a little bit of money away. So when the markets do turn, you can start sinking that money into really good projects that can blow up and have money again. Because again, the bull market's going to return.
Well, do you want to speculate when that's going to happen? And I know, look, we all know it's always hard to know, right? It used to be, they lasted years, 2 years, 3 years, 4. It seems to me like the cycles are really changing now. And I just mean in general, like the dynamics. So you go back 5 years ago where it was tulips and beanie babies referring to Bitcoin from the JP Morgan. And now, BlackRock's got it, as part of their assets under management. So do you think that affects the market cycles of bear and bull? Do you see a bull market coming sooner than later, or what would you speculate on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you were to pull 100 different top influencers on Twitter, say, you would probably get 100 different opinions on when the market is going to turn, how long the bear market's going to last. Everybody's got their own opinion, right? It's just rife with speculation. If you're asking me honestly, I would say towards the new year that we would see it turn. I personally think that obviously a lot depends on global markets, watching what the stock market does, watching what the Fed does with inflation and basis point hikes, and the housing market, and global conflicts. They all play into it, but you got institutional investors who are still on the sideline. You're hearing about some of them jumping in, right, and getting involved, but I personally think a lot of them are still on the sidelines. Institutional investors coming in will shorten the bear market and get things moving again. And obviously, when you're looking at Bitcoin down near 20,000, that's a lot more attractive to institutional investors than it was at 60,000, right? So the other thing that comes into play here is regulation. And I understand that, right, when some of us came into this space, the mentality was to have full control over your assets and your money, right? And not have the government meddling in your business when it comes to your finances and how you transfer money, how you make money, you're paying, things like that. But I think it really needs to shift from not just governments being kept out of your business or essentially kept out of crypto, but governments cooperating. And a few years ago that would sound, that's blasphemy. Governments getting involved in cooperating, but you got governments cooperating, that comes with a fair amount of regulation. And again, people hear regulation, they go, God, that's gonna, that's really going to take away a lot of my freedoms, and it's going to restrict me from doing what I want privately. And to me, regulation, what it does is it makes this more of a secure asset class with less volatility. And with less volatility comes more interest from institutional investors. That's what they want, right? They want an asset class that they don't have to worry about depreciating 80 to 90% in the future. I guess the baseline there, what I'm thinking is, if we do get some more regulation involved, more institutional investors will say, now I'm ready to jump in. I feel more confident about this. And that's when, more of a bull run will kick off. And again, I'm hoping that comes by the end of the year. I'd be apprehensive to say September, October. If it does, great. But there's a lot of different factors that can extend some more sideways action.
Yeah. It's funny about the regulation part, though, because if you think about it, a lot of people in the space, and there's different ways of looking at it. And there's always some people say, oh, I don't want regulation whatsoever, but I want to see Bitcoin go to 100 plus, right? Or 200 plus. And then those that say, look, hey, maybe I'm not as crazy about regulation, but it needs to happen for the big institutions to put their money into it, because they're not, at least, we've seen how it is with the banking system and everything. I mean, you see them now talking about, custodying of stable coins and all that. It's almost like, crypto has been the big elephant in the room, and now it has a seat at the table. And even though, let's say, Wall Street didn't want it at first, they acknowledge it's there. And then when you go to, you talk, like you come from traditional finance. When you go to a lot of these companies that originally said, let's go back to Diamondback 5 years ago. Oh, fire any trade. Right now, of course, JP Morgan has trading desk. But he said at the time, oh, I don't like it, but my daughter has it. My daughter loves it. You look at the new generation coming in, they are very comfortable with it. So I think from a acceptance point of view, right, from something that makes sense from a marketability, because that's really what a lot of institutions look at, their clients want it. So, the regulation, it's got its pros and its cons, but it is what it is if it's going to grow.
Yeah. So look at it from this perspective. The total crypto market cap is like, I don't know, $1.2 trillion.
Are we that high again now?
Yeah. I think somewhere floating between that. I haven't looked at.
Right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. 1.117.
All right.
You're right.
Again, putting this space in perspective, Apple has 2.7, 2.8, I forget what it was. It's somewhere close to $3 trillion market cap. Apple alone. Now that's 3 times the market cap of the entire global crypto market cap. We are still tiny in the broad perspective of things, right? In finance. Yeah. So what would you rather have? Would you rather have crypto at a $1.2 trillion market cap with no regulation, or would you rather have it at a $10 trillion market cap with some regulation built in, with less volatility? Or, great, everybody's rooting for 100K, 200K Bitcoin, but there are still going to be people who buy in near the top, and they're going to watch it go down 90% again in the next bear cycle if it's that volatile. So build in some security in there, put some regulations in, make it a safer space, make it a more secure space for people, for traditional finance investors to come in and put their money without having to completely speculate. Have some of these projects get more into things like equity raises, where raise money not just on tokens, not on speculative tokens, but maybe things that are revenue generating, where you're getting a portion of the profits. I think that needs to come into DeFi a little bit more, where people can look at it as from the position of, well, I'm going to have, if this project does really well, and they have really good revenue, I get a share of that revenue. That's what I looked at in traditional finance. Wanted to be a part of that, where I could rely on revenue coming in, not holding money in a wallet and hoping it appreciates, but also taking that risk that it could go to nothing.
Right. Well, I want to touch on one thing, though. When you're talking about especially with taking risk and whatnot, when you look at low caps, you said something earlier about the fact that ones that are building during the bear market, right, and finding those if you can. And of course, there's tons of them out there, and it's all about research. If somebody tells you, hey, I'm looking at this project, what would be a few things that you would tell that person to really analyze before diving in that project? What are 2 or 3 things that are, let's say, things you need to see to make it work for you to say, hey, you know what, this looks like it could be good or it may be good, don't know, right? Perhaps. What sort of things do you want to see in low caps?
Yeah, I probably have a laundry list of items, but
that's a lot, right? Well, first off, make sure you don't go to, and it's the same picture, 10 pictures of the team, right? This is John, George, Jill. Wait, that's the same picture, the same guy.
So I typically go on
supply PH Furley.
Yeah, sure. One of the tools I use is, I go on Dex Tools a lot.
Yeah.
If the project is really, really small and it just launched,
right,
obviously it comes with a considerable amount of risk, right? So when it's an extremely small project, and you look at their website, and you're thinking, I like what they're trying to build. Usually, they don't have like a proof. They have a proof of concept, right? They don't necessarily have a product in production yet. So you're looking at the proof of concept, right? Looking at what they're trying to build, and maybe you say, this sounds like it really has, it solves a real world problem, or it could be something that I would use, that I would love to use in my everyday life, or that businesses could apply. But then your next step is to look at, and there's tools that you can use within that tool. Would not be getting too granular and in the weeds on this, but you check to see if they've locked their liquidity. Make sure they can't rug the pull the contract, or rug everybody and take the money. You look to see what the initial market cap is. If it's nice and low and they got liquidity locked, and the supply, see how much of the supply is in circulation, what the release is going to be. There's going to be things where you need to do a little bit of digging. You may need to go on the website. You may need to look at their contract, see how many people are holding the token already on Etherscan, so you can see kind of the way the wallets are dispersed. Make sure nobody's holding too high of a supply. It's going to dump on you. Those are kind of short-term things. Long-term things, if this is a project that you want to invest in and maybe hold it or and watch it grow over the course of a year or maybe longer, well, then you go into the you go on the website, you look at the white paper, you check out the team. Has this team, do they have members that have worked on other well-known projects that have been successful? Do they come from traditional finance, right? Have they been with companies like BlackRock or Morgan Stanley or JP Morgan, something like that, where they really understand finance, or whatever space their project has to be in? Do they have relevant experience? Do they have links to the LinkedIn profile? So really, it's like, look at their history, check what they're building, and verify it. See if they have other investors involved. If they have other partnerships with companies in outside of crypto, who are building something, or have a proven track record of success. So that's kind of what I do. I look at the background of a team, what they're actually trying to build, who they've partnered with, and I avoid those projects where you just have an idea put out there on a website. They're not working with anybody yet. Their tokenomics don't look great. They had a big, say, private sale round where a bunch of people got in, and they're going to get their tokens quickly, which means they're going to dump their tokens on the market, and you're going to watch your investment, depreciate 80%. Have to be a bag holder for the next year or 2 years, and hope it gets back to even. So again, go back and do your research on these things.
And that comes to the fact that research is there. And of course, with the internet, when it comes to any project or any part of crypto, you can research. There's no question about that. So jumping ahead, and one other thing on crypto, when you look at Bitcoin 5 years down the road, do you want to get like a price target on it? Would you want to go there?
Excuse me.
And I'll range, and I feel like I shouldn't. Like I've done this a lot of the podcasts. I ask for price targets, and it's and I know it's so hard to speculate whatnot. But you hear $1 million, you hear 500,000, and if you DCA along the way, right? Historically, you've always done well. But would you even want to kind of guess, let's say in 2027, what kind of number we're looking at with BTC?
Yeah, I'll put a disclaimer on this that the target I give you, short my target. I'm probably going to be wrong. If you could short my answer.
Yeah, right. Look, I give you my target. Take that and $5. Go into Starbucks, you get a cup of coffee. But anyway, what
in 5 years,
okay.
if we have realistic regulatory framework and institutional investors do come on, my best guess would be 250,000 in 5 years.
Okay.
I think we're going to see a couple more cycles where, Bitcoin in the next cycle may go 110, 120,000 and then retrace again back to 50, 60,000. And then, have that big shot up to 250K.
I could see that happening. I could see that happen. I think that's a very accurate look at that. So Moon Boots, I do want to ask you about that. The company, please tell me about that a little bit.
Sure. So that we are, let me start by saying we're a venture capital and we are a community. Mm-hmm. My partners started this as more of like a watering hole for people just getting into crypto. They had a Telegram group. They a lot of people who didn't like the way they were treated in the market or manipulated in the market, and wanted to find some like-minded people out there that they could just chat about their experiences and form some kind of I'll say brotherhood. That would be a bit sexist to say, but men and women come in there and talk about again their experiences, what their thoughts on the market was, and it blew up into a pretty a very active group. And originally, I had my own Telegram channel. It's called the Goodfellas, and we were somewhat small. Right? At the same time, we were looking at projects and discussing them with our members. And I had some crossover with the other members on some other projects where we had either invested in those projects together or we had connections to C-level employees within those projects, and we formed a really good relationship over time, some crossover in deals. And last June, I think it was, they invited me to come on as a co-founder of Moon Boots. And we started a venture capital through Moon Boots, but brought that back to our community channel and provided them some opportunities to get into some fair investments and some good opportunities. And that kind of blew up into a brand, a name. We got a really good reputation over time, looking out for our community. Again, we were solely community focused. We weren't like a traditional VC looking to bring on investors and get a quick ROI and run to the next project and kind of treat it like a rinse and repeat. We were a value add. We were providing services to the projects that we worked with, everything down, to marketing, graphic design. We worked with the legal teams. So we tried to find ourselves as a value add. And that built us a great reputation. We worked with dozens of projects over the course of the last year. And now we're in that somewhat of a lull in the market. So we've kind of circled back and worked on how do we work on being compliant with in the regulatory framework that surrounds that, so we could be, more like a tier 1 VC in the future.
Right.
And we'll have more announcements on this coming. But we've merged with a traditional fund wealth management group, and their investors are going to be leveraging us to get into more of the crypto space, and we're going to provide our people in crypto larger opportunity to get involved in projects at an early startup phase where they may not have had that. They may have not had that access in the past. So it's something that's really taken off over the course of the last year, and we have really high hopes for it in the future.
Very cool, man. That's why I started this saying you've been going nonstop, constantly working, and I can see everything that you're putting forward. So, so when you're not, a couple of non-crypto questions. When you're not working, when you're not analyzing charts, when you're not doing research, talking to people, what are you doing to relax?
Oh man, I just had a nice new deck built on the back of my house. So I go out, sit on the deck and watch the Yankee game at night and chill out with friends. And play with my kids. And
nice.
People who know me on social media know that I have a beautiful little pit bull that I adopted when she was only 16 weeks old, and she's now 3. So run her out in the backyard and play. She's like, my wife, my kids, my dog. That's my life. I'm a pretty simple guy. We do the typical go on vacations, and we love lakes and going out on the boat. And I'm a dad. I'm a fairly simple guy, but I like watching my American football, NFL. I love watching the Yankees. As an East Coast guy out here, I'm close to New York City,
are you a Jets or?
I'm a Jet fan. I'm a suffering Jet fan. We had to go there.
I was gonna say Jets over Giants.
Yeah, traditionally a lot of Yankee fans are Giants fans. New York Giants fans, but I made the mistake of becoming a Jets fan back when I was in college. Had a couple of good years under Rex Ryan. If anybody knows that is.
I don't want to turn off any fans of Giants because we have fans of both listen. But I remember somebody told me once, and it was not from New York, but the guy was right out of New York. And he's like, well, it's like the Jets. That's somebody who's working, who has a beer, who actually goes. Giants is the wine and cheese crowd. I don't know if that's true or not.
That's the way they portray it. Like, the Giants are the white collars and the Jets are the blue. Giants come in suits and the Jets come in wife beater T-shirts.
All right, and you got to play.
I'm also a big soccer fan. I grew up playing the sport and follow the national team. And that was something I did in college. I actually played for a reigning national champion way back in the day.
Oh, so you had what soccer team do you follow now?
I'm primarily, in the U.S. Well, the Red Bulls they actually play in New Jersey in the in America here. So I'm a Red Bull fan, but I follow the U.S. men's national team very closely. I've actually personally known some of the guys who have played for the team.
Cool. Very cool. And if a plane shows up at your house, it's taking you 1 or 2 countries right now. Go anywhere. Where would you go?
Good call.
There's a lot of options, right? But it's taking you anywhere. You're gonna get there in 2 minutes. Supersonic, what you want to call, right? What country would you go to? Do a visit.
Let me see. I gotta earn points with my wife. So the first place I have to go is Iceland. That's on our bucket list. We also go to Iceland, so I have to go there. Yep. But I love, I'm a warm weather guy, so I love the idea of Costa Rica. In the Caribbean, there's a little island off the coast of Cancun called Isla Mujeres. It's a little 8-mile island where you can just chill out.
Yeah,
have a couple of days, relax, beautiful beaches. I'm one of those guys. I get invitations to go out to Thailand all the time, and a lot of the guys that I work with out there. But I'm like, shit, man, or Dubai. But 20 to 30 hour flights for me, man. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a ways to get out there. No doubt about that. So that's cool, man. That's cool. Well, look, I appreciate you taking the time. Like I said, man, I've been trying to get you on for a while. I know you're super busy, so the fact you made the time, greatly appreciate it. Dude.
Well, listen, man, all the best to you. Really, I really respect what you do, and lots of love for you, man. It's good knowing you too.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Long time friend in the space, and definitely appreciate chatting with you. So, Bullrun, Gravano on this episode of the Big Dog Crypto Podcast. Once again, brother, thanks for coming on.
You've been listening to the Big Dog Crypto Podcast. Follow on Twitter at WoofBigDog. Woof, Big DAWG. And run faster than the competition. Woof, woof.